Hello YouTube. So today I'm going to be making a Shamshir or a Kilic, a Saber, a nomadic style curved back sword, if you will. This is very similar to the one that I did in my book, which was essentially just the sword of Altair from Assassin's Creed. The biggest difference is going to be that this will be traditionally curved, at least somewhat. More than, say, the U.S. Marine Corps officer's sword, the Mamluk sword, and probably less than the most extreme Persian version, somewhere at an intermediate. Maybe more than the late European models would have been, and, like I said, definitely more than the Mamluk sword of today. That is, the Mamluk sword being the U.S. Marine Corps officer's sword. So, start off here with 1/2" Schedule 40 PVC. The blade end is 32 inches long. The hilt end I've left 5.5 inches long. The back little bit I'm going to pinch and curl over to make an eagle's head. That's very common. I'm going to use some I'm probably going to use some 3/4 inch pipe for the cross guard, and I'm going to shape that a little bit more traditionally than I did with the other sword. But who knows, I might just drill it out and use a wooden dowel and then epoxy on top of it. I'm getting a little bit more into the idea of making these things look better rather than function better, because nobody's going to sword fight with me, and I'm certainly not going to use a PVC blade if I'm going to be doing it. This is mostly just a prop, a costume weapon, something like that. So I might as well go ahead and use things that are a little bit more fragile and not worry about what could happen to them. So again, 32, 5.5. Using my skills at maths, I'm getting 37.5 inches overall, just longer than my yardstick. So I don't have a good trough anymore, so I just took a single sheet of heavy-duty Reynolds wrap, and I'm going to be using that. I'm going to be heating it up, making the curve, and then going back and flattening it in stages. I won't show you the entire process, since by now I'm pretty sure you're really sick of all that, and you've seen it a million times. But I'll show you a few stages here and there, a few bits and interesting clips along the way. Alright, now I've rearranged my workstation so I could stand over here and then heat over here. What I did was I heated the entire length of what will be the blade, and then I added a nice graceful curve just at what looked right. And I'm going to go through and I'm just going to flatten it in stages of about a foot at a time, so in about 3 stages I'll have it all the way up to the handle. That'll help me keep it from losing too much of the curve along the way, and this way I'll be able to make sure it's nice and even. Alright, welcome back. This is just the first stage. I'm going to do the other stages without actually showing you what I'm doing. So I just heated the final about a foot and then flattened it in line with the curve. That's pretty much it. All I'm going to do to finish it is I'm going to heat the very end of it, cut it, pinch it, so it makes a nice point, and finish flattening the rest of it. That's before I go ahead and make the hilt of any embellishments, the cross guard, the pommel, anything like that. So that's going to be the next stage, and when you see the sword next in a few seconds, it'll be done all the way up to there. We can talk more. Okay, so I've now flattened the entire blade. I'm going to go back and just even out some of the bumps that resulted from me doing this in multiple stages. If you had a jig of sufficient size, you could probably press it out all at once and it would work really well. There's also another procedure that I wanted to experiment on, but not today, especially since my heat gun, after not being used for several years, is kind of on the fritz. I wanted to leave it in a press and then heat it from the side, so only the exposed surfaces in any areas that are uneven, air will get there, heat it more, and then I can create a nice even press on it. Maybe even one that's a little bit flatter. On the other hand, a little bit less flat is a little bit more rigid. So you want to strike this balance, and it's hard to see exactly where it is, but this is pretty good. So the blade is reasonably curved. That's pretty extreme for a Western, well, like a Napoleonic era saber would be pretty similar to this. And it's pretty extreme for a modern saber for sure. But after a little bit more shaping, I'm going to put in the tip, the eagle head, the cross guard, we'll have a hopefully fun to play with sword that I can make look better and better as I go along. Maybe I'll Dremel in a fuller or do some stuff that I've never done before. I don't know. That's where we'll leave it for now, and we can come back and finish another time, and thank you as usual for watching. Hello YouTube, Tim here, and this is the semi-finished Saber, Kilic, or Shamshir, whatever you want to call it, Scimitar. It's a lot like the Flying Eagle sword, or whatever you want to call it, the Sword of Altair that I built. And basically you get an eagle head here on the end. The crossguard's not finished. I'm going to cut it out, flare it at the end, and a nicely curved blade. From when I showed you guys last, I actually straightened it out a little bit here in the first third of the blade. That portion generally seems to be more or less straight. So this is very straight up through here, and then it starts to curve a little bit more. Creates a very interesting feel, very nice blade. I really like it, and this is going to be a lot of fun just to play with. You can sort of see how it's different from a normal straight sword, a European style straight sword, or even a straight saber, where those sorts of weapons are better for thrusting. And this is, at best, if you're going to thrust, it's almost a curved thrust. I can see using it like this to pick around shields or things like that, but it just feels so different. And I've heard of some people using these things from horseback to take off heads, thrusting like so, just taking a head clean off by cutting with the thrust. So they're very, very different weapons than straight swords, and that's pretty cool. We can talk about that more a little bit later, but I have a few more operations to do to finish this up, so let's go get that started.